This taxi driver was exhausted, but he was still working at 3 a.m., trying to scrape together every dollar to save his son who was dying in the hospital. But suddenly, his female passenger clutched her chest, struggled to breathe, and then stopped breathing right there in the back seat. In a panic, the driver pulled her onto the sidewalk and performed chest compressions for several minutes, ignoring the suspicious looks from the crowd around him. But just a few minutes later, a helicopter landed, and a wealthy, powerful man rushed out. And everything changed. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The dashboard clock glowed 3:47 a.m. as Marcus Williams gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to ignore the tremor in his hands. 72 hours. That's how long it had been since he'd slept more than 20 minutes at a time. His phone buzzed. Another ride request. He tapped accept before reading the destination. Didn't matter anymore. Every dollar counted. The Red Bull can in the cup holder was his 6th today. Or was it 7th? He'd lost count somewhere around midnight. Marcus rubbed his eyes, feeling the grit behind his eyelids, the weight pressing down on his chest that had nothing to do with exhaustion. His phone lit up again. Not a ride request this time. A text from the hospital. Mr. Williams, this is a reminder that Michael's specialized treatment requires $15,000 by Friday. Without payment, we'll need to transition him to basic care. Please contact us. Marcus's jaw clenched. Basic care. That's what they called it when they gave up on you. He pulled over on a side street, hands shaking as he opened his banking app. 340.27. That's what 3 days of double shifts had earned him. He needed $600 just to cover this week's interest on the loans. The $15,000 might as well be $15 million. Marcus closed his eyes, but that was a mistake. Behind his eyelids, he saw Michael at 10 years old, gap-toothed and laughing, holding up a drawing from school. Look, Dad, I drew us! 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands under a smiling sun. Now that boy, no, that man, because Michael was 28 now, lay in a hospital bed, machines breathing for him. Eyes closed for 4 months straight. The motorcycle accident had happened so fast. One moment, Michael was riding to his night shift at the warehouse. The next, a drunk driver ran a red light. $287,000 in medical bills. The insurance company had found a clause, some technicality about pre-existing conditions. Michael's childhood asthma, diagnosed at 6, apparently disqualified him from coverage for traumatic brain injury. Marcus had read the denial letter so many times he'd memorized it. His phone buzzed. The bank this time. Final notice. Payment of $8,450 due in 15 days. Failure to pay will result in foreclosure proceedings. 15 days. 2 weeks to save a house he'd spent 30 years paying for. The house where he'd carried his bride over the threshold, where Michael had taken his first steps, where his wife Sarah had died 2 years ago because they couldn't afford the experimental cancer treatment the insurance wouldn't cover. Marcus opened the glove compartment. Inside sat a small jar of coins and crumpled bills, tip money he'd been saving. He dumped it onto the passenger seat and started counting. 1 quarter, 3 dimes, handful of pennies, $7 bills. All ones. 23.47. He laughed, a hollow sound that hurt his throat. $23.47 between him and losing everything. His hand touched something else in the pile. A photo, worn soft at the edges. Sarah, radiant in her yellow sundress. Michael on her hip at age 3, his small arms wrapped around her neck. They were at the park, that perfect Sunday before everything went wrong, before the diagnosis. Before the bills started piling up like snow in a Chicago winter, beautiful from far away, suffocating up close. I'm sorry, baby, Marcus whispered to the photo. I couldn't save you, and now I can't save our boy either. His phone lit up with another text. The nurse from the ICU, Linda, the kind one who always spoke to him like he was a person, not just another problem. Marcus, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but they're planning to move Michael to basic care next Monday if you don't make a payment. That means no more physical therapy, no more cognitive specialists. Please, if there's any way. Marcus's fingers hovered over the reply button. What could he say? That he was trying? That he was driving 18 hours a day? That he'd already sold everything he owned except the car that let him earn money and the clothes on his back? Another ride request popped up. $12,050 for a trip to O'Hare Airport. He accepted it. The house could wait. Sleep could wait. His own body, screaming for rest, could wait. But Michael couldn't. Marcus started the engine and pulled back onto the empty street, Chicago's skyline glittering in the distance, like a promise the city had no intention of keeping. Somewhere in one of those lit-up towers, someone was spending more on a bottle of wine than Marcus made in a week. Somewhere, a kid was buying a handbag that cost more than a year of his son's physical therapy. But none of that mattered. Not really. The only thing that mattered was the number on his phone screen. 47 rides left to complete in the next 3 days to make his weekly minimum. 47 strangers to drive around while his son lay dying and the city ground him down into dust. Marcus took another sip of Red Bull, tasting nothing but metal and desperation, and drove toward his next pickup. The night was long, and he was so tired. But stopping meant giving up, and Marcus Williams didn't know how to do that. Not yet. The sun was coming up when Marcus picked up his first passenger of the morning shift, a man in his 30s, designer suit, leather briefcase, the kind of polished look that screamed tech money. "Lincoln Park," the man said without looking up from his phone, already deep in a conversation. Marcus caught fragments as he drove. "Yeah, we're moving forward with the layoffs. 200 positions, mostly warehouse and support staff. No, it's necessary. Labor costs are killing our margins. I know, but we need to hit our targets for the next funding round." Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. 200 families, 200 people who'd wake up one day soon and find out they couldn't feed their kids anymore. The man laughed at something. "Trust me, by Q3, we'll be thanking ourselves. The stock options alone will make it worth it." Marcus pulled up to a brownstone that probably cost $3 million. The man got out, still talking, and dropped a crumpled $5 bill on the seat. No, thank you. No acknowledgement that Marcus existed at all. The next fare was a college student, 19 maybe, heading to Michigan Avenue. She spent the entire ride on FaceTime with a friend, the phone propped up so Marcus could see everything in the rearview mirror. "Oh my God, Brittany, you have to see this." She turned the camera to show a shopping bag. "I got the Birkin. Daddy put it on his card. It's only $35,000 and it's like an investment, you know." $35,000 for a purse. Marcus did the math automatically now, a reflex he couldn't stop. That bag cost exactly 2 months of Michael's specialized treatment, 2 months of his son possibly waking up, recognizing him, speaking again. "The essay said it'll increase in value," the girl continued, pulling the bag out to show her friend. "So really, Daddy's making money by buying it for me." She got out at a boutique, left no tip, and complained to her friend as she walked away. "God, that driver was so slow. Like, I have places to be." Marcus sat in the parked car for a moment, staring at his hands on the wheel. Calloused, scarred. The pinky on his left hand sat at a slight angle from where he'd broken it years ago and couldn't afford to get it set properly. These were working hands. Honest hands. They'd never touched $35,000 at once in his entire life. His phone buzzed. Another passenger request. And another. He kept driving. By noon, his third fare was a lawyer, mid-40s, expensive watch, catching the light every time he gestured while on his phone. "I'm telling you, Sarah, the tax burden is crushing me," the man said into his Bluetooth earpiece. 40% on income over $2 million. It's highway robbery. How am I supposed to save for retirement when the government takes half of everything I earn? Marcus glanced at him in the mirror. The man's suit probably cost more than Marcus's entire wardrobe. His watch, Marcus recognized a Rolex when he saw one, could pay off the bank, the hospital, and have enough left over to live on for 6 months. "I work 80-hour weeks," the lawyer continued. "I earned this money, and they want to give it to people who don't work half as hard as I do." Marcus's jaw ached from clenching. He wanted to say something, wanted to tell this man about real 80-hour weeks, the kind where you didn't get to bill at $800 an hour, where you counted coins for gas money, where you chose between eating and putting those crumpled bills toward your son's life. But he said nothing, because that's what invisible people do. They stay quiet. The lawyer got out at a steakhouse, the kind with no prices on the menu. He left exact change, no tip. Marcus pulled away and had to stop at a gas station. He stood at the pump, looking at the numbers. He had $23 left until his next Uber payment cleared tomorrow. The tank was nearly empty. $10 of gas? Or $20? He squeezed the trigger, watching the numbers climb. At $10, he stopped, the rest he'd need for his heart medication. The doctor had warned him, stress, no sleep, his age. He needed to take it every day. Missing doses meant risking a heart attack. But the prescription cost $13, and he'd been stretching it, taking it every other day to make it last. Marcus got back in the car, hands trembling slightly, not from fear, from exhaustion, from the weight of pretending he didn't hear these people, didn't see the casual cruelty of their excess while he drowned. His phone rang. Unknown number. Marcus almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Mr. Williams?" A woman's voice, professional, cold. "This is Karen Mitchell from First National Bank. I'm calling regarding your mortgage account." "I know about the 15 days, Marcus said. "I'm working on it." "Mr. Williams, I'm required to inform you that this is your final courtesy call. If payment is not received by December 8th, we will begin foreclosure proceedings. You'll have 30 days to vacate the property." Vacate. Such a clean word for losing the only home his son had ever known. "I understand," Marcus said, because what else could he say? "We encourage you to explore all options, including loan modification or a short sale. Have a good day, Mr. Williams." She hung up. Marcus sat in the gas station parking lot, watching people come and go. A woman in yoga pants driving a Range Rover complained to someone on her phone about her contractor being late. A teenager in a Tesla laughed with friends, music thumping from expensive speakers. Nobody looked at the 58-year-old black man sitting in a 10-year-old Toyota, watching his life crumble in real time. His phone buzzed again. A text from the hospital. "Mr. Williams, we still haven't received confirmation of payment for Friday. Michael's care coordinator needs to speak with you today about transitioning his treatment plan. Please call before 5 p.m. Transitioning. Another clean word for giving up. Marcus looked at the photo of Sarah and Michael that he kept tucked into his sun visor. Michael was asking him something in that photo. Marcus could still remember. "Dad, how come rich people don't help poor people?" Marcus had smiled, tousled his son's hair. "One day they'll understand, buddy. One day." He'd believed it then, believed in fairness, in karma, in the idea that hard work meant something. Now he knew better. Hard work meant 72 hours without sleep. It meant counting coins. It meant watching your son die while college kids bought purses worth more than his life. Marcus started the engine. The afternoon shift was starting. More passengers, more people who'd never see him as human, just a steering wheel with hands attached. But he'd keep driving. Because stopping meant Michael's machines getting unplugged. Stopping meant losing the house where Sarah's memory lived in every corner. Stopping meant admitting the world was exactly as cruel as it seemed. So Marcus didn't stop. He accepted the next ride request and pulled back onto the street. One more shadow in a city full of light that never touched him. 11:34 p.m. Marcus's phone lit up with what he'd promised himself would be the last ride of the night. His body felt like lead, his vision slightly blurred at the edges. The Red Bull had stopped working hours ago. Pickup location, the Peninsula Hotel. Drop-off, Lakeshore Drive, the stretch where old money lived in buildings with doormen and lake views. Marcus pulled up to the hotel entrance. A young woman in a designer coat stood under the lights, phone pressed to her ear, laughing. "Dad, you worry too much," she said, sliding into the back seat. "Yes, I'm being safe." "No. I don't need Charles to drive me. I told you I'm taking an Uber." "Because I'm 26 years old, that's why." Marcus glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Mid-20s, blonde hair styled perfectly. The kind of casual elegance that came from never worrying about money. Sophia Morrison, according to the app. "I just left the charity gala," Sophia continued, still on her phone. "It was beautiful, Dad. We raised over $200,000 for the Arts Foundation. I personally donated $100,000. Dad, stop. It's my trust fund. I can do what I want with it. Okay? Okay. Yes. I'll text you when I get home. Love you too." She hung up and immediately started typing on her phone. Marcus drove in silence, taking Lakeshore Drive north. The city lights reflected off the water, beautiful and cold. He'd driven this route 1,000 times, knew every pothole, every traffic light. "Such a gorgeous night," Sophia said absently, looking out at the lake. "I love this city." Marcus said nothing, just drove. They were passing the Hancock building when Sophia's voice changed. Excuse me?" Marcus looked in the mirror. Sophia had her hand pressed to her chest, her face suddenly pale. Miss, you okay? I don't. Her breathing had gone shallow, rapid. Something's wrong. Marcus's heart jumped. What kind of wrong? My chest, I can't. It's tight. Sophia's voice rose with panic. I can't breathe right. Oh God, what's happening? Marcus immediately hit the hazards and pulled toward the curb. Stay calm. When did this start? Just now, Sophia gasped, her hand clutching her chest. It hurts. It really hurts. Marcus grabbed his phone, dialing 911 with shaking fingers. His mind raced through possibilities. Heart attack, panic attack, allergic reaction. At 26, probably not a heart attack, but he'd seen enough in 58 years to know young people weren't immortal. 911, what's your emergency? I have a passenger, young woman. She's having chest pain and difficulty breathing. We're on Lakeshore Drive near Oak Street Beach. Is she conscious? Marcus looked back. Sophia's eyes were wide with terror, her breathing coming in quick, desperate gasps. Her lips had a slight blue tinge. Yes, but she's struggling. She needs help now. An ambulance is being dispatched. ETA is 12 minutes. Sir, does the patient have any known medical conditions? I don't know. I'm her Uber driver. Marcus stopped. Sophia's eyes were rolling back. She's losing consciousness. Sir, I need you to stay calm. If she stops breathing, do you know CPR? Marcus's mind flashed to the community center course he'd taken 15 years ago when Michael was in Little League. Just in case. Every parent should know. Yes, I know CPR. If she stops breathing, you'll need to begin chest compressions immediately. She's not breathing! Marcus dropped the phone, threw open his door, and ran to the back seat. Sophia had slumped sideways, her face gray in the streetlight. Marcus pulled open the door, checked her pulse, weak, thready, and her chest wasn't moving. No time. He pulled her from the car as gently as he could, laying her on the sidewalk. His hands found the center of her chest, positioning exactly like he'd been taught. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Don't stop until help arrives or she wakes up. Marcus started pressing, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reality hit him even as he worked. He was a 58-year-old black man kneeling over an unconscious young white woman on a Chicago street at night. His hands were on her chest. Her designer coat was open. A car slowed down, the driver's eyes wide. Call 911, Marcus shouted, not stopping compressions. She's not breathing. But the car sped up and drove away. 15, 16, 17. Another car pulled over. A white woman got out, phone already raised. But she wasn't calling 911. She was filming. What are you doing to her? The woman shouted. CPR. Marcus gasped between compressions. She stopped breathing. I'm calling the police. Call an ambulance. Please. But the woman was already backing toward her car, phone still pointed at him, recording everything. Marcus kept going. 28, 29, 30. He tilted Sophia's head back, checked her airway, and gave 2 breaths. Her chest rose and fell. Good. He went back to compressions. His arms burned. His own chest ached with exhaustion and stress. But he didn't stop. Another car slowed. The driver yelled something Marcus couldn't hear over the blood pounding in his ears. More cars were stopping now, a small crowd forming. Someone call 911, Marcus shouted again. They're already on their way, a man called out. But he didn't come closer. Nobody did. Marcus could hear the whispers. What's he doing? Is he attacking her? Should we stop him? I don't know, man. I don't want to get involved. Marcus's mind screamed at the injustice even as his hands kept the rhythm. He was saving her life, and they were watching like he was committing a crime. 15, 16, 17. Sophia's designer purse had spilled open next to them. He could see her wallet, her phone with a cracked screen, lip gloss, keys to probably a car worth more than everything Marcus owned. 28, 29, 30. 2 more breaths. His shoulders screamed, his vision blurred with sweat and exhaustion. But he kept going. 6 minutes. He'd been doing CPR for 6 minutes, the longest 6 minutes of his life. Then, a cough. Sophia's body jerked. She coughed again, violent and wet, and her eyes fluttered open. Oh, thank God, Marcus whispered, sitting back on his heels. Oh, thank God. Sophia stared up at him, confused and terrified, gasping for air but breathing. Actually breathing. You're okay, Marcus said, hands shaking. You stopped breathing. But you're okay now. Ambulance is coming." Sophia's mouth moved, but no words came out. Her hand reached up weakly toward her chest. "Don't try to talk. Just breathe. Nice and slow." Marcus could hear sirens now, getting closer. The crowd that had been watching from a distance was getting larger. Phones pointed at him like weapons. He looked down at his hands, still positioned near Sophia's chest, and slowly moved them away. Raised them slightly, palms out, non-threatening, visible, because he knew what was coming. He knew what this looked like, what they'd see, what they'd assume. The sirens were screaming closer now. Red and blue lights painted the street. But it wasn't an ambulance. It was a police car. And then Marcus heard something that made his blood run cold. The distinctive whump, whump, whump of a helicopter getting louder, coming fast. Sophia's eyes widened as she recognized the sound. Her lips formed a word. "Dad." Marcus looked up at the sky and saw it. A private helicopter, banking hard, heading straight for them. This wasn't just any young woman. This was someone's daughter. Someone with the kind of money that could get a helicopter over Chicago in less than 12 minutes. The kind of someone who could destroy Marcus with a single phone call. And right now, he was kneeling over her unconscious body, surrounded by witnesses recording everything, while her father's helicopter descended from the sky. Marcus closed his eyes for just a second, a prayer forming on his lips. Not for himself, for Michael. "Please," he whispered, "please let him be okay when this goes wrong." Because Marcus had known the moment he'd started CPR, that doing the right thing was about to cost him everything. The helicopter was landing in the middle of Lake Shore Drive. 2 police cars had arrived with more coming, and Sophia Morrison was gasping for breath on the sidewalk while her father was about to see a black man with his hands on his daughter's chest. Marcus didn't run, didn't move, just stayed on his knees with his hands visible and waited for his world to end. Again. The helicopter's rotors whipped wind and debris across the street as it touched down. Cars had stopped in both directions, creating chaos. Marcus stayed on his knees next to Sophia, hands now raised to shoulder height, where everyone could see them. "Help is here," he said gently to Sophia. "Your dad's here." Sophia tried to sit up, but Marcus shook his head. "Don't move yet. Let the paramedics check you first." The helicopter door flew open before the rotors had fully stopped. A man in his 60s jumped out, tall, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Marcus's car. William Morrison. Marcus didn't know the name yet, but he knew the type. Money, power, control. Morrison's eyes swept the scene in 1 second. His daughter on the ground, a black man kneeling over her, crowd watching. "What the hell did you do to her?" Morrison was running toward them, and Marcus saw it in his face. Not fear for his daughter, not relief that she was conscious. Rage. Pure, undiluted rage directed at Marcus. "Sir, I did CPR. She stopped breathing." Marcus didn't get to finish. Morrison's fist connected with his jaw, snapping his head back. Marcus sprawled on the pavement, tasting blood. "Dad, no!" Sophia's voice was weak, but Morrison wasn't listening. "You son of a bitch!" Morrison grabbed Marcus by his jacket, pulled him up, and hit him again. "What did you do to my daughter?" "Sir!" One of the police officers rushed forward. "Sir, step back." But Morrison shoved Marcus away so hard he hit the pavement again. "I want him arrested, now!" 4 men in black suits, Morrison's private security, materialized from the helicopter. 2 of them grabbed Marcus, yanking his arms behind his back so hard his shoulders screamed. "I saved her!" Marcus shouted. "Check the 911 call! I called for help!" "Shut up," one of the security guards growled, pressing Marcus's face into the concrete. The asphalt was still warm from the day's heat, rough against his cheek. Marcus could see Sophia trying to sit up, trying to speak, but Morrison was blocking his view now, kneeling next to his daughter. "Baby, are you okay? Did he hurt you?" "Dad, he saved." "Don't try to talk, sweetheart. The paramedics are here." The ambulance had finally arrived, EMTs rushing forward with equipment. Morrison moved aside to let them work, but he kept his eyes locked on Marcus, who was now being zip-tied by security while a police officer watched. "This man attacked my daughter," Morrison said to the officer. His voice was cold now, controlled, dangerous. "I want him arrested and charged immediately." "Sir, we need to investigate. You need to do your job. My daughter was unconscious, and this man had his hands on her." Marcus struggled against the zip ties, wincing as they cut into his wrists. I did CPR. Check with 911. They have a recording of the whole call. One of the EMTs, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked up from checking Sophia's vitals. Who performed CPR? I did, Marcus said quickly. She stopped breathing about 6-7 minutes ago. I did 30 compressions, 2 breaths, kept going until she came back. The EMT's expression changed. She looked at Sophia, then at Marcus, then at Morrison. Sir, your daughter is extremely lucky. She had a cardiac event. We won't know exactly what kind until we get her to the hospital, but without immediate CPR, she would have suffered severe brain damage or death within minutes. Morrison's face went rigid. What are you saying? I'm saying whoever did CPR saved your daughter's life. The technique was textbook perfect. You can see the bruising on her sternum from properly performed compressions. The EMT looked directly at Marcus. How long have you been certified? Community center course, 15 years ago, Marcus said, but I remember everything. You saved her life, the EMT said firmly, then looked at Morrison. This man saved your daughter's life. Morrison stood frozen, the color draining from his face. He looked at Marcus, really looked at him for the first time, saw the split lip from where he'd punched him, the blood on his face, the way Marcus was zip-tied like a criminal while his daughter lived because of what Marcus had done. Morrison's voice faltered. A second police officer approached, holding a phone. Mr. Morrison, we have the 911 recording. The caller, he glanced at Marcus. This man reported a medical emergency at 11:41 p.m. He clearly states that his passenger is having difficulty breathing. At 11:43, he reports that she stopped breathing and immediately begins CPR. The dispatcher stayed on the line and can confirm he was performing CPR when first responders arrived. The officer's tone made it clear. Marcus wasn't the villain here. Morrison's jaw worked, but no words came out. He looked at his daughter being loaded onto a stretcher, then at Marcus still restrained on the ground, then away, at nothing. Cut him loose, Morrison finally said, his voice hollow. Sir? One of the security guards looked confused. I said cut him loose. The security guard pulled out a knife and sliced through the zip ties. Marcus's hands fell to his sides, wrists burning. He stayed on the ground, not trusting his legs yet. Morrison watched as the EMTs loaded Sophia into the ambulance. He started to follow, then paused, turned back to Marcus. For a moment, their eyes met. Marcus saw something flicker there. Shame, maybe, or confusion, or the dawning realization of what he'd just done. But Morrison said nothing. He turned and climbed into the ambulance. The doors closed. The ambulance pulled away, sirens wailing. The helicopter lifted off a minute later. Just like that, they were gone. Marcus sat on the curb, head in his hands, while the police officer who'd played the 911 recording approached. Mr. Williams, I'm Officer Chen. I need to get a statement from you, but first, are you okay? Do you need medical attention? Marcus touched his split lip, winced. I'm fine. You're not fine. That man assaulted you. He thought I was hurting his daughter. I understand. Officer Chen shook his head, sat down next to Marcus. You understand? He hit you twice, had his security restrain you, wanted you arrested. And you understand? Marcus laughed, a bitter sound. What am I going to do? Press charges against a man who probably has more lawyers than I've had hot meals this week? It's your right. Rights. Marcus looked at his bruised wrists. Yeah, I got a lot of those. They sat in silence for a moment. The crowd had dispersed. The cars were moving again. The street was returning to normal, like nothing had happened. For what it's worth, Officer Chen said quietly, you did an incredible thing tonight. You saved that young woman's life. Marcus stood slowly, every muscle screaming. Can I go? I need to get home. Your car is still here, but Mr. Williams will need you to come to the station tomorrow to give a formal statement. And, Officer Chen hesitated, I'd recommend you see a doctor about your injuries. Document everything, just in case. Just in case. Marcus knew what that meant. Just in case Morrison decided to make this worse. He nodded, got in his car, and drove away. His phone buzzed almost immediately. Uber notification. Your account has been flagged for review due to a reported incident. You are temporarily suspended from accepting rides pending investigation. Marcus pulled over, read it again. Suspended. No suspension meant no income. No income meant no money for Michael's treatment, for the house payment, for anything. He looked at himself in the rearview mirror. Blood crusted on his lip. His left eye was swelling. His wrists were raw and red. He'd saved a life tonight. And somehow, impossibly, it was going to cost him everything. Marcus didn't sleep that night. Not because of the pain, though his jaw throbbed and his ribs ached from kneeling on concrete, but because his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. First, another Uber notification at 2:17 a.m. Your account has been permanently deactivated due to violation of community safety guidelines. Permanently. Marcus read it 3 times, each word sinking deeper. He called the support number, got a recorded message about business hours, sent an email explaining everything, got an automated response that someone would review his case within 5 to 7 business days. He had 12 days to pay the bank. At 6:30 a.m., someone knocked on his door. Marcus opened it to find a process server holding a manila envelope. Marcus Williams? Yeah, you've been served. The man handed him the envelope and left before Marcus could ask any questions. Marcus stood in his doorway, the envelope heavy in his hands. He opened it. Civil complaint. Morrison Medical Insurance Corporation for his Marcus Williams. His vision blurred as he read. The defendant, Marcus Williams, performed medical procedures without proper licensing or certification, resulting in injury to the plaintiff, Sophia Morrison, including but not limited to fractured ribs, 3, bruised sternum, and associated trauma. Marcus had to sit down. His kitchen chair creaked under him as he kept reading. The defendant's actions, while possibly well-intentioned, violated Illinois state law regarding unauthorized practice of medicine. Morrison Medical Insurance Corporation, having provided medical coverage for the resulting injuries, seeks compensatory damages in the amount of $250,000 for saving her life. Marcus's hands started shaking so badly he dropped the papers. They scattered across his kitchen table, next to the stack of hospital bills for Michael, next to the foreclosure notice, next to the photo of Sarah that he kept there to remember what he was fighting for. His phone rang. Morrison Group. According to the caller ID, Marcus answered, his voice hollow. Hello? Mr. Williams, this is Jennifer Chen from Morrison Group's legal department. Professional. Cold, like she was reading from a script. We wanted to inform you that you've been served with, I got it. I'm holding it right now. I see. Well, the corporation wanted to reach out directly to inform you that we'll be in touch within 48 hours to discuss settlement options. Settlement? I saved his daughter's life. Mr. Williams, I understand you're upset, but the facts are clear. You performed medical procedures that resulted in injury. Illinois law is very specific about who can and cannot. She was dead. She wasn't breathing. What was I supposed to do? Let her die? A pause. Mr. Williams, I'm just doing my job. If you have legal representation, please have them contact our office. Legal representation? Lady, I can't afford to eat. How am I supposed to afford a lawyer? Another pause, longer this time. I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. I'll have our office send you information about legal aid resources. Wait, but she'd already hung up. Marcus sat staring at his phone. Legal aid for a $250,000 lawsuit against a corporation that probably spent more than that on office supplies. His phone buzzed again. A text from his landlord. No, not landlord. He owned his house. Or he had before the bank decided otherwise. Actually, it was his neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who'd lived next door for 20 years. Marcus, Channel 7 was just here asking questions about you. I didn't tell them anything, but I think you should know. People are talking. Marcus turned on his small TV, flipped to the local news. There he was. The video from last night. Shaky phone footage from one of the bystanders. Marcus kneeling over Sophia, hands on her chest. The angle made it look ambiguous, unclear. The newscaster's voice overlaid everything. Controversy surrounding the rescue of Sophia Morrison, daughter of billionaire William Morrison. While some are calling Marcus Williams a hero, others are questioning whether proper procedures were followed. Morrison Medical Insurance has filed a lawsuit claiming... Marcus turned it off. The kitchen clock ticked too loud in the silence. 7:45 a.m. He needed to call the hospital. The phone rang 4 times before someone picked up. ICU, this is Brenda. Hi, Brenda, this is Marcus Williams. I'm calling about my son, Michael. Oh, Mr. Williams. Her voice changed, got careful. I'm glad you called. Dr. Patterson needs to speak with you. Can you hold? Hold music, 60 seconds of it before a man's voice came on. Mr. Williams, this is Dr. Patterson. I'm Michael's attending physician. I wanted to discuss his treatment plan with you. Marcus's stomach dropped. Is he okay? Did something happen? Michael's condition is stable, but as we discussed, we need to make decisions about his ongoing care. The advanced therapy protocol requires a payment of $15,000 by end of business Friday. That's tomorrow. Without that payment, we'll need to transition him to standard care. What does standard care mean? It means we'll maintain his current condition, breathing support, feeding tube, basic monitoring. But we'll discontinue the experimental cognitive therapy and reduce physical therapy to once weekly instead of daily. And his chances of waking up. Dr. Patterson was quiet for a moment. Mr. Williams, I'll be honest with you. With the advanced protocol, Michael has maybe a 30% chance of regaining consciousness with minimal deficits. With standard care, it drops to less than 10%. And the longer he stays in this state, the lower those odds become. Less than 10%. I'm working on the money, Marcus said, hating how desperate he sounded. I just need a little more time. I understand, but the hospital has policies. I'm sorry. I wish I could do more. They always said that. I wish I could do more, but nobody ever did. Marcus hung up and looked at the lawsuit papers spread across his table. $250,000. The number was so absurd it didn't even feel real. His phone rang again. The bank. Mr. Williams, this is David Chen from First National. I'm calling about your overdue mortgage payment. I know, 12 days, I remember. Actually, that's why I'm calling. We've received information about recent legal issues you're facing. Our risk assessment department has determined that given the pending lawsuit and your temporary unemployment, we need to accelerate the foreclosure timeline. Marcus felt the room tilt. What does that mean? It means we need full payment of the outstanding balance, $8,450, within 7 days, not 12. If we don't receive payment, we'll begin foreclosure proceedings immediately. You're cutting my timeline because I got sued? I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. It's bank policy when there's significant risk of non-payment. Risk? I've been paying this mortgage for 30 years. 30 years, and I'm 4 months behind because my son is dying and you people want to throw me out? I understand your frustration, but Marcus hung up. He couldn't listen anymore. 7 days. 48 hours for Michael's payment. 7 days for the house. A $250,000 lawsuit hanging over his head. He looked at his hands. The same hands that had compressed Sophia Morrison's chest 30 times per minute for 6 minutes straight. The same hands that had brought her back to life. These hands had saved someone, and for that, he was going to lose everything. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Marcus almost didn't look, but something made him open it. Mr. Williams, this is your landlord at the Sunrise Apartments where you rented before purchasing your home. I saw the news. Just wanted to let you know that if you need a place, I'm sorry, but I can't rent to you with a lawsuit pending. It's a liability issue. I hope you understand. Marcus did understand. He understood perfectly. He was 58 years old, a black man in America, and he'd just learned the oldest lesson of all. No good deed goes unpunished. His phone rang one more time. Officer Chen from last night. Mr. Williams, I wanted to give you a heads up. The footage from last night went viral. It's getting a lot of attention. Yeah, I saw the news. Right. Well, there's something else. Morrison Group just released a statement. They're saying they'll be in contact with you within 48 hours, but Chen paused. Look, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I've seen this before. Big corporations, they use lawsuits to control narratives. This isn't about money. This is about making sure you can't come back at them. Come back at them? For what? Assault. Morrison punched you, remember? You have witnesses. You have my report. You could sue him personally for what he did, but not if he sues you first. Not if he buries you in legal fees you can't afford. Marcus closed his eyes. Of course. It was never about the broken ribs. It was about making sure he stayed quiet, stayed in his place. Thanks for telling me, Marcus said. After Chen hung up, Marcus sat in his kitchen while morning light crept through the window. The same light that had illuminated this room when Sarah made breakfast here, when Michael did homework at this table, when they'd been a family. He looked at the photo of Sarah and Michael, both smiling, both alive, both believing the world was fair. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered. "I tried. God knows I tried." His phone buzzed again, but he didn't look at it. He just sat there, watching the light change, while everything he'd worked for his entire life crumbled around him. He'd saved Sophia Morrison's life, but he couldn't save his own. 2 days later, Marcus sat in a hospital waiting room that smelled like money. The chairs were leather. The art on the walls had those little brass plaques with artist names. A woman at the concierge desk, this place had a concierge, smiled with teeth too white to be real. This was Northwestern Memorial's VIP wing, where the rooms cost $5,000 a night and the coffee was served in actual china cups. Marcus didn't belong here. He knew it. The security guard who'd escorted him up knew it. Everyone who'd watched him walk through those pristine hallways knew it. But William Morrison had called him directly that morning. "Mr. Williams, I'd like to speak with you. Can you come to Northwestern Memorial at 2 p.m.? My secretary will have your name at the desk." Not a request, a summons. So here Marcus sat, wearing his only dress shirt, the one from Sarah's funeral, waiting to find out what fresh hell was coming for him. "Mr. Williams?" A woman in a sharp suit appeared. "Mr. Morrison will see you now." She led him down a hallway, past rooms with doors cracked open, showing spaces more like hotel suites than hospital rooms. Sophia's room was at the end, private, massive, with windows overlooking the Chicago skyline. Sophia was sitting up in bed, looking pale but alive. Monitors beeped softly. Her father stood by the window, backlit by afternoon sun, hands in his pockets. "Mr. Williams," Morrison said without turning. "Thank you for coming." Marcus stayed near the door, uncertain. "Your secretary said you wanted to see me." "I did. I wanted—" Morrison finally turned, and Marcus was startled to see how different he looked. Tired, older. The rage from 2 nights ago had burned out, leaving something else behind, something harder to read. "I wanted to apologize," Morrison said. The words hung in the air. "I hit you," Morrison continued. "I had my security restrain you. I jumped to conclusions based on—" He trailed off, didn't finish the sentence, didn't need to, based on what Marcus looked like, what it looked like. "You were scared for your daughter," Marcus said carefully. "I understand." "No." Morrison's voice was sharp. "Don't make excuses for me. I was wrong. Completely, inexcusably wrong. And I'm sorry." Sophia spoke for the first time, her voice still weak. "Mr. Williams, the doctors told me what you did, how long you did CPR. They said—" She blinked back tears. "They said I was dead, clinically dead, and you brought me back." Marcus shifted his weight, uncomfortable. "I just did what anyone would do." "But you're not anyone," Sophia said. "You're an Uber driver who stopped your whole life to save mine, who risked—" She looked at her father. "Tell him." Morrison pulled a white envelope from his jacket, walked over and held it out to Marcus. "This is a check for $100,000. It's not enough, could never be enough, for what you did. But I wanted to show my family's gratitude." Marcus stared at the envelope, didn't take it. $100,000. Michael's treatment. The bank. The lawsuit. Everything. Solved. "Just take the envelope." Marcus's hand actually reached out. His fingers trembled as they got close to that envelope. He could almost feel the weight of it. The solution to every nightmare. He saw Michael's face, saw the medical bills, saw the foreclosure notice, saw Sarah looking at him, asking him what kind of man he wanted to be. Marcus pulled his hand back. "I can't take that." Morrison blinked. "I'm sorry?" "I said I can't take it. Mr. Williams, I know about your situation. My assistant looked into it. Your son, the medical bills, the house. You investigated me?" Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. "I wanted to understand. I wanted to help. This money could—" "I know what this money could do," Marcus said. His voice came out harder than he meant. "But I didn't save your daughter's life to get paid for it." Morrison looked genuinely confused, like Marcus had started speaking a language he didn't understand. "Then what do you want?" "Want?" Marcus almost laughed. "I want my son to wake up. I want my wife back. I want a world where doing the right thing doesn't destroy your life. But I don't want your money." "That's pride talking," Morrison said. "False pride that won't feed your son or save your house." "No," Marcus said quietly. "It's not pride, it's— If I take that money, I'm saying you were right about me. That I'm the kind of person who saves lives for profit. That everything you assumed about me when you saw me kneeling over your daughter was true. The words came out raw, honest. Marcus hadn't planned to say them, but there they were. I'm not that person, Marcus continued. I saved her because it was right, because she was dying and I could help. And if I take your money now, I'm saying that's not enough reason. I'm saying I did it for this. He gestured at the envelope. And I didn't. Morrison stood frozen, the envelope still extended. Sophia was crying silently in her bed, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Williams, Morrison said slowly, I've spent my entire life around people, rich people, powerful people. And do you know what every single one of them would do if I offered them $100,000? Marcus said nothing. They'd take it. They'd take it and ask for more. They'd negotiate. They'd leverage their position for everything they could get. Morrison lowered the envelope. You're the first person who ever said no. Then you've been around the wrong people. Morrison actually laughed, a short, startled sound. Apparently so. He walked back to the window, the envelope still in his hand. The lawsuit, Morrison Medical Insurance. I can make that go away. Can you? Marcus was tired of games. I'm the chairman of the board. The CEO answers to me. It'll take a few phone calls, some board approval, but yes, I can make it disappear. And the hospital? Marcus heard the desperation creep into his voice, hated it. Your company denied my son's insurance claim, denied coverage for his treatment. If you can make a lawsuit disappear, can you fix that? Morrison turned, really looking at Marcus for the first time. Your son's claim was denied by my company? Morrison Medical Insurance. Denied him 4 months ago, said his childhood asthma was a pre-existing condition that disqualified him from coverage for traumatic brain injury. Marcus's voice shook. He's 28 years old, laid up in ICU, and your company decided his asthma at age 6 meant he didn't deserve to live. Morrison's face went pale. I didn't know. Why would you? He's nobody. Just another poor person trying to use insurance they paid for. The room was silent except for the monitors. I'll look into it, Morrison said finally. I promise you, I will personally look into it. Promises. Marcus moved toward the door. Your company already promised me they'd contact me in 48 hours. It's been 3 days, so forgive me if promises from Morrison Group don't mean much. Mr. Williams, wait. But Marcus was already leaving, walking past the leather chairs and brass plaques and everything that represented a world he'd never belonged to. He'd said no to $100,000. He'd probably just sealed his fate, but he could still look at himself in the mirror. And right now, that was all he had left. Sophia Morrison spent her first day out of intensive care on her laptop, clicking through files her father's company probably didn't want her to see. Being the boss's daughter had advantages. She'd had executive system access since she turned 21, theoretically so she could learn the business. She'd never used it for much besides checking her trust fund balance. Until now. Morrison Medical Insurance, Legal Department, Settlement History. Sophia scrolled through cases, her stomach turning with each one. Marcus Williams wasn't the first. 2019. Tyrone Johnson, warehouse worker who helped an injured supervisor, sued for $150,000 for unauthorized medical assistance. Settled for $40,000 in 2020. Maria Gonzalez, janitor who called 911 when a Morrison executive collapsed, sued for $75,000 for privacy violation and negligence. Settled for $25,000. 2021. David Washington, security guard who performed the Heimlich maneuver on a choking board member, sued for $200,000 for assault and unauthorized physical contact. Settled for $60,000. 9 cases in 5 years. 9 people who'd helped Morrison employees or family members. 9 lawsuits to shut them up, all of them people of color, all of them poor. Sophia's hands shook as she took screenshots. Her chest, still bruised from Marcus's life-saving compressions, ached with each breath. A different kind of ache now. Shame. Her phone buzzed. Her best friend, Emma. Saw the news. OMG, are you okay? Sophia stared at the message. Was she okay? She was alive. Marcus Williams had made sure of that. And her father's company was destroying him for it. She got out of bed, pulled on a robe, and walked to the VIP lounge where her father was on a conference call. I don't care what the optics are, William Morrison was saying. We need to contain this situation before... He saw Sophia held up a finger. "I'll call you back." He hung up. "Sweetheart, you should be resting. I need to talk to you about Marcus Williams. We've discussed this. The legal department is destroying him." Sophia's voice rose. "Dad, I looked at the files. The settlement history. This isn't about protecting the company. This is about shutting people up." Morrison's expression went cold. "Sophia, you don't understand business. I understand right and wrong. 9 people, Dad. 9 people who helped our employees, and we sued every single one of them. That's not how it works. When someone performs medical procedures without certification, it creates liability. We have to protect what? Our bottom line." Sophia was shaking. "Marcus Williams saved my life. And 3 days later, he's being sued. He lost his job, and his son is being denied treatment by our insurance company." Morrison stood. "His son's denial was before any of this." "I know. I read the file. Michael Williams denied coverage 4 months ago because of childhood asthma. It's our standard playbook, isn't it? Find a pre-existing condition, any pre-existing condition, and deny the claim." "Sophia, that's not—" "Mom would be ashamed of you." The words came out before Sophia could stop them. Morrison froze like she'd slapped him. Sophia's mother had died 3 years ago. Cancer. She'd spent her last months volunteering at free clinics, trying to make up for the wealth she'd married into. "Make sure this money does some good in the world," she'd told Sophia before she died. "Don't let it make you cruel. Don't bring your mother into this." Morrison said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Why not? She'd say the same thing I'm saying. We're destroying a good man because he saved my life. How is that anything but evil? It's not evil, it's business. When you're older, you'll understand the difficult decisions. I'm 26. Stop treating me like a child." Sophia grabbed her laptop, pulled up the file on Marcus. "Look at this. Really look at it." She turned the screen toward her father. Marcus's employment history. Perfect driving record for 30 years. Community service certificates. Photos of Michael before the accident. A young man with his whole life ahead of him. "This is who you're destroying," Sophia said. "Not some opportunist trying to exploit us. A man who lost his wife, whose son is dying, who works 18-hour days just to survive. And when he saved my life, you punched him in the face and sicked your lawyers on him." Morrison's jaw worked. He looked away from the screen. "I'm dropping the lawsuit," Sophia said. "You can't. You're not the plaintiff. The insurance company is." "Then I'm going public. I'll tell everyone what you did, what the company does, all of it." "Sophia, you're upset. You nearly died. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking clearly for the first time in my life." Tears burned her eyes. "I've lived in a bubble, Dad, your bubble. Private schools, trust funds, charity galas where we throw money at problems we never have to actually see. And I thought that was enough. I thought I was a good person because I donated to arts foundations and volunteered at dog shelters." She laughed bitterly. "But Marcus Williams showed me what an actual good person looks like. He risks everything to save a stranger, and we pay him back by ruining his life. That's not business, Dad. That's evil, and I won't be part of it anymore." Morrison sank into a chair, suddenly looking his age. "What do you want me to do?" "Drop the lawsuit, approve Michael's insurance claim, pay Marcus's legal fees, and fire whoever came up with this pattern of suing people who help us. The board won't approve it. They'll see it as admission of wrongdoing." "I don't care about the board." Sophia was full on crying now. "I care about doing the right thing. For once in our family's history, let's just do the right goddamn thing." The room went silent except for Sophia's ragged breathing and the distant beep of monitors. Morrison looked at his daughter, his only child, the one thing he loved more than his company, and saw her mother in her face. The same fierce righteousness, the same inability to accept easy answers. "I'll make some calls," he said quietly. "Not good enough. I want to be in those meetings. I want to see every decision. Sophia, non-negotiable, or I walk out of here and call every reporter in Chicago." Morrison studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay." But Sophia wasn't done. She'd spent the last hour making more calls than just reviewing files. She'd found someone, a lawyer who specialized in cases against corporations like Morrison Group, Jennifer Hayes. Reputation for being brilliant, ruthless, and expensive. She'd taken down pharmaceutical companies, insurance giants, tech conglomerates. She won 80% of her cases, and she'd agreed to represent Marcus Williams, pro bono. There's one more thing, Sophia said. I hired Marcus a lawyer. Morrison's eyes widened. You did what? Jennifer Hayes. She's going to help him sue you for assault and sue the company for wrongful legal action and probably a dozen other things I don't understand. Sophia, do you understand what you're doing? You're going to war with your own father. No, Sophia met his eyes. I'm trying to save you from yourself before it's too late. She walked toward the door, then paused. Marcus Williams didn't take your money, Dad. Did you ask yourself why? It wasn't pride. It was principle. He has something you've forgotten how to have. What's that? A soul. Sophia left her father standing there, surrounded by luxury, wealth, and power, and absolutely alone. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. at Jennifer Hayes' law office in downtown Chicago. By 9:30, the conference room was packed with reporters, cameras, and the electric tension that comes when a story is about to explode. Marcus sat at a table, Sophia Morrison on one side, Jennifer Hayes on the other. He wore the same funeral shirt from his meeting with Morrison. Sophia wore jeans and a Northwestern sweatshirt, a deliberate choice to look like a person, not a billionaire's daughter. Jennifer Hayes looked like war. Sharp suit, sharper eyes, a stack of documents that represented 5 days of nonstop work. Ready? She asked Marcus quietly. Marcus thought about Michael, still unconscious, about the foreclosure notice that had arrived this morning, his last day in the house, about the life he'd lived for 58 years, and how it had all come down to this moment. Yeah, he said. I'm ready. Jennifer stood and the room fell silent. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Hayes, and I'm representing Marcus Williams in a civil case against Morrison Medical Insurance and William Morrison personally. With me today are Mr. Williams and Sophia Morrison, daughter of William Morrison. Cameras flashed. Reporters shifted forward. 5 days ago, Marcus Williams saved Sophia Morrison's life using CPR when she suffered a cardiac event. Instead of gratitude, Mr. Williams was assaulted by William Morrison, falsely detained, and subsequently sued by Morrison Medical Insurance for $250,000. He lost his job. He's facing foreclosure, and his son, who's been in a coma for 4 months, was denied treatment by this same insurance company. Jennifer pulled up a slide on the screen behind her. This is not an isolated incident. Morrison Medical Insurance has a documented pattern of filing frivolous lawsuits against people who help Morrison employees or family members. Over the past 5 years, 9 individuals, all people of color, all low income, have been sued after providing assistance. The purpose of these lawsuits is not to recover damages. It's to silence potential plaintiffs who might sue the company for negligence or seek compensation for injuries. Another slide. Names, faces, settlement amounts. Tyrone Johnson, Maria Gonzalez, David Washington, Kenneth Brown, Lisa Chen. Each of them helped someone. Each of them was sued. Each of them settled because they couldn't afford to fight a billion-dollar corporation. Jennifer's voice grew harder. But Marcus Williams is not settling. And thanks to Ms. Morrison's courage in coming forward, we have internal documents that prove Morrison Medical Insurance's systematic abuse of the legal system to victimize the very people who try to help them. She nodded to Marcus. Marcus stood, legs shaking. He'd never spoken to a crowd like this, never wanted to. But Jennifer had coached him. Tell your truth. That's all you need to do. My name is Marcus Williams, he began, voice rough. I'm 58 years old. I drove an Uber at night to pay for my son's medical bills. 5 days ago, I picked up a passenger who stopped breathing. I did CPR because that's what you do when someone's dying. You help them. He paused, gathering strength. William Morrison punched me, had me restrained like a criminal. His company sued me for saving his daughter's life. That same company denied my son's insurance claim 4 months ago, even though we paid premiums for 8 years. My son Michael is 28. He has a traumatic brain injury from a motorcycle accident. He needs treatment that costs $15,000. Without it, he probably won't wake up. Marcus's voice cracked. I didn't save Sophia Morrison to get money or recognition. I did it because it was right. But this system, he gestured at the documents Jennifer had displayed, this system punishes people for doing right. It protects the rich and crushes everyone else. Morrison Medical Insurance would rather let my son die than admit they were wrong to deny his claim. He sat down, exhausted. Sophia stood. Cameras went crazy. "I'm Sophia Morrison," she said, her voice steady despite tears on her face. "Marcus Williams saved my life. I was clinically dead. Without his CPR, I would have suffered brain death within minutes. The doctors confirmed this." She looked directly into the cameras. "My father assaulted Mr. Williams because of what he saw. A black man kneeling over his white daughter. He didn't see a rescuer. He saw his assumptions, his prejudices. And instead of correcting that mistake, Morrison Medical Insurance tried to bury it under legal threats." Sophia pulled out her phone, held it up. "I have access to company files. I've seen the pattern. 9 people sued in 5 years. All minorities. All poor. All after they helped us. This isn't business. This is systematic oppression using the legal system as a weapon." "Ms. Morrison," a reporter shouted, "are you testifying against your own father?" "If necessary, yes, because this is bigger than family loyalty. This is about justice. Mr. Williams lost his wife 2 years ago because they couldn't afford her cancer treatment. Now he's losing his son for the same reason. I won't stand by and watch my family destroy a good man." "What does your father say about this?" another reporter called out. "I don't know. He hasn't spoken to me since I told him I was doing this press conference." Jennifer took over again, displaying another document. "We're filing a federal civil rights lawsuit against Morrison Medical Insurance for discrimination, abuse of legal process, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We're also filing assault charges against William Morrison personally, and we're calling for a federal investigation into the company's insurance claim denial practices." "What do you want?" someone asked. Marcus answered this time. "I want my son to get the treatment he needs. I want William Morrison to admit what he did wrong. And I want this company to stop using the legal system to hurt people who can't fight back." The press conference lasted another 40 minutes. Questions came fast, aggressive, probing. But Marcus, Sophia, and Jennifer had prepared. By the time it ended, the hashtag #JusticeForMarcus was trending on Twitter. The video of Marcus doing CPR had been viewed 4 million times. News outlets across the country were picking up the story, and Morrison Group's stock had dropped 12%. In his office 40 floors above Chicago, William Morrison watched the press conference on 3 different news channels simultaneously. His phone was ringing nonstop. Board members, shareholders, lawyers, crisis management consultants. He ignored all of them. On the screen, his daughter was crying as she talked about principle and justice and doing the right thing. She looked so much like her mother, it physically hurt. Morrison's assistant knocked. "Sir, the board wants an emergency meeting." "Tell them I'll call them back." "But, sir, I said I'll call them back." The assistant retreated. Morrison sat alone in his office, surrounded by awards and photos and all the trappings of success. Empire built over 40 years. Reputation cultivated through careful PR and strategic donations. All of it crumbling because he'd punched the wrong man. No, because he'd been wrong about the man he'd punched. Morrison picked up his phone, dialed a number he hadn't called in 3 years. "William." The voice was surprised. Morrison's therapist, the one his wife had made him see after she got sick, the one he'd stopped seeing after she died because dealing with grief was inefficient. "I need an appointment," Morrison said. "Today. As soon as possible. I can do 2 p.m. "I'll be there." Morrison hung up and turned back to the screens. Marcus Williams was answering a question, his weathered face showing every year of struggle. "I'm not a hero," Marcus was saying. "I'm just someone who did what anyone should do. But somehow, in this country, in this system, doing the right thing costs everything. That's what needs to change." Morrison closed his eyes. His daughter was right. What had he become? William Morrison watched the CPR video for the 40th time. His office door was locked, phone silenced, assistant told to turn everyone away. On screen, Marcus Williams knelt over Sophia's body in the harsh glow of streetlights. His movements were methodical despite obvious exhaustion. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Repeat. The video showed 6 minutes of this before Sophia coughed and gasped back to life. Morrison had watched paramedics work. He'd seen professional medical teams in action. Marcus's technique was textbook perfect, better than perfect. It was desperate and determined, and it saved his daughter's life. And Morrison's first response had been to destroy him. He opened another tab on his computer, Marcus Williams's complete file. Jennifer Hayes had sent it over as part of discovery, a subtle fuck you that said this is who you're attacking. Marcus Williams, born 1967 in South Chicago. High school graduate, married Sarah Johnson in 1989. One son, Michael, born 1997. Employment history: factory worker, delivery driver, taxi driver, Uber driver, no criminal record, perfect driving record for 30 years, community service certificates for volunteering at after-school programs, letters of recommendation from Michael's teachers. Photo of Marcus receiving an award for 5,000 hours of volunteer work at the Boys and Girls Club. This was who Morrison had punched, had sued, had assumed was a criminal based on... Morrison couldn't finish the thought. Didn't want to face what it meant about him. His computer dinged. Email from Sophia. She'd moved out of the house yesterday, was staying with a friend, refused to talk to him. The email had no text, just an attachment. A photo. Morrison opened it. His wife, Elizabeth, at a free clinic 3 months before she died. She was thin from chemo, wearing a headscarf, but smiling as she held a black child who couldn't have been more than 5. The plaque on the wall behind them read, "We rise by lifting others." Elizabeth's favorite quote. She'd said it at their wedding, had it engraved on her headstone. Morrison's hand shook as he closed the laptop. He'd spent 10 years building Morrison Medical Insurance into a powerhouse. Profit margins that made shareholders rich, denials that kept costs down, systems that protected the company from liability, and somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten that every denial was a person, every lawsuit was a life, every policy was someone's mother, father, son, daughter. Morrison stood, grabbed his coat, and left his office for the first time in 3 days. "Sir?" His assistant looked startled. "The board meeting? Cancel it." "But..." "Cancel everything. I'll be back when I'm back." Morrison took the elevator down, walked out into Chicago's cold November air, and got in his car. Not the town car with the driver. His own car, a Mercedes he barely drove anymore because he was always being driven. He drove to South Chicago, to the address Jennifer Hayes had included in Marcus's file. A small house on a street where half the buildings were boarded up. A neighborhood Morrison had never visited, would never have had reason to visit. Marcus's house was neat despite obvious age. The small lawn was mowed. An American flag hung by the door, faded but clean. Morrison sat in his car for 10 minutes, trying to find the courage to knock. Finally, he got out. The doorbell didn't work. Morrison knocked instead. Marcus opened the door wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt with holes in it. His face still showed bruises from Morrison's fists. His eyes widened when he saw who was standing there. "Mr. Morrison." Flat voice. No emotion. "Mr. Williams. Can we talk?" Marcus stared at him for a long moment, then stepped aside. "Come in." The house was small, clean, almost empty. Morrison could see packing boxes in the corner. Foreclosure. Right. That was happening today. "I'd offer you something to drink," Marcus said, "but I packed most everything already." "That's okay." They stood in the living room. Morrison felt absurdly out of place in his $1,000 suit. "Why are you here?" Marcus asked. Morrison pulled an envelope from his jacket, different from the check he'd offered before. This one was thicker. "I've spent the last 3 days looking into everything," Morrison said. "Your son's insurance denial, the lawsuit, all of it." And he handed the envelope to Marcus, who didn't take it. "What is this?" "Documents. Your son's insurance approval, full coverage for specialized treatment, backdated to the accident, the lawsuit dismissal signed by the entire board, and a check for your mortgage arrears plus 6 months ahead." Marcus finally took the envelope, opened it slowly. His hands shook as he read. "There's more," Morrison said. "I fired our legal director who pushed the lawsuit. I'm implementing a new policy. No more lawsuits against people who provide emergency assistance, and I'm establishing a review board for denied claims, independent of the company." Marcus looked up, his eyes bright with tears. "Why now?" "Because I've been watching that video, the one of you saving Sophia. I've watched it 40 times, and every time I see the same thing." "What do you see?" "I see a man who gave everything to save a stranger, who didn't think about the cost or the risk or what would happen after. You just did what was right." Morrison's voice broke. "And I destroyed you for it. Because when I saw you kneeling over my daughter, I didn't see a rescuer. I saw..." He couldn't say it. "A black man," Marcus finished quietly. You saw a black man with his hands on your white daughter. Morrison nodded, shame burning through him. I'm a racist. I never thought of myself that way. I donate to diversity causes. I hire people of color. I voted for Obama. But when it mattered, when everything was on the line, my first instinct was that you were a criminal, not because of anything you did, because of what you looked like. The words hung between them. I'm sorry, Morrison said. That's not enough. I know it's not enough, but I'm so goddamn sorry. You saved my daughter's life, and I tried to destroy yours. There's no excuse for that. Marcus sat down slowly, still holding the envelope. You investigated me after the fact, looked into my background. If you'd done that before coming at me, would you have still hit me? Morrison thought about it, wanted to lie, couldn't. I don't know, he admitted. I'd like to think I would have seen you as a person, but I'm not sure I would have, and that terrifies me. Why? Because I've spent 40 years thinking I was a good man, built a company, employed thousands of people, gave to charity, but one moment of crisis revealed who I really am, and I don't like that person. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Then, what are you going to do about it? Change, Morrison said. I called my therapist. I'm starting real diversity training, not corporate bullshit, actual education about implicit bias. I'm reviewing every claim denial from the past 5 years personally, and I'm trying to make this right. For your daughter, the board, PR? For me, Morrison said, because I look in the mirror now and I see someone my wife would be ashamed of, someone I'm ashamed of. Oh, he pulled out his phone, showed Marcus a photo. Elizabeth at the free clinic. My wife, Elizabeth, she died 3 years ago. Cancer. She spent her last 6 months volunteering at free clinics because she said our money should do good in the world. Before she died, she made me promise I wouldn't let wealth make me cruel. Morrison's voice broke. I broke that promise. I became exactly what she feared, and I didn't even realize it until my daughter called me evil. Marcus studied the photo. She looks kind. She was. She would have liked you. Morrison put his phone away. She would have been the first one doing CPR, and if anyone had tried to stop her, she'd have fought them. Your daughter takes after her. Yeah, she does. They sat in silence. Outside, a car drove by playing music too loud. Normal neighborhood sounds. Life continuing despite everything. My son wakes up tomorrow, Marcus said suddenly. They're doing the treatment in the morning. First session of the advanced protocol. Morrison looked up. That's good. That's really good. Yeah. Marcus's hands were still shaking. I didn't think I'd get to say that sentence. 24 hours ago, I thought I was going to have to tell them to pull the plug. Let him go. And now... He couldn't finish. Just cried. Quiet sobs that shook his whole body. Morrison sat there, watching this man he'd tried to destroy fall apart with relief. Wanted to say something, do something, but there was nothing to say that would make any of this okay. After a while, Marcus wiped his eyes. I still don't want your money, by the way. The 100,000, whatever you were planning to offer. I wasn't going to offer it. Why not? Because you taught me something. You showed me that not everything has a price, that some people actually have principles they won't compromise. Morrison stood. I've spent my whole life believing money solves everything, that if you throw enough cash at a problem, it goes away, but you wouldn't take it, wouldn't sell out. And that, he shook his head, that's more valuable than anything I could offer you. Marcus stood too. They faced each other across the small living room. I can't forgive you, Marcus said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. What you did, hitting me, having me restrained, sued, investigated, that's not something that just goes away. I understand. But, Marcus hesitated, I see you trying. That's more than most people would do. So I'm not going to fight you on this anymore. Take care of your daughter. Fix your company. Be better. He held out his hand. Morrison took it, and they shook. Thank you, Morrison said, for everything. For saving Sophia. For showing me who I'd become. For giving me a chance to be better. Marcus nodded. Go home, Mr. Morrison. Call your daughter. Fix your family. Morrison left, got in his Mercedes, and sat there for a moment. His phone had 67 missed calls, 32 voicemails, over 100 emails. He ignored all of them and called Sophia. Sophia, it's Dad. I'm sorry for everything. You were right about all of it. I love you. Please come home so we can talk. He hung up and drove away from Marcus's neighborhood, back toward the gleaming towers of downtown Chicago. But something had shifted. The city looked different. The people on the streets weren't just scenery anymore. They were Marcus Williams. Every one of them with a story, a struggle, a life as real as his own. Morrison didn't know if he could really change. 50 years of assumptions and prejudice didn't just vanish, but he was going to try. Because Marcus Williams had saved his daughter's life, and maybe, just maybe, he'd saved Morrison's soul too. 1 year later, the building was new, 3 stories of glass and steel in the heart of South Chicago, a neighborhood that hadn't seen new construction in decades. The sign above the entrance read, Marcus Williams Community Health Center. Marcus stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, his hand steady for the first time in as long as he could remember. Michael stood next to him, using a cane but standing. Alive, awake, home. The crowd was massive. Neighbors, reporters, politicians who wanted photo ops, and people like Marcus, working folks who knew what it meant to choose between medicine and rent. William Morrison stood off to the side, not on the stage. He'd insisted on that. This was Marcus's moment. Sophia stood on the stage, though, microphone in hand. She'd spent the last year working on this project full-time, had deferred her trust fund lifestyle for something that actually mattered. 1 year ago, Sophia began, Marcus Williams saved my life, and in doing so, he exposed a corrupt system that valued profit over people. Today, we're changing that system. She gestured at the building. The Marcus Williams Center provides free medical care to anyone who needs it. No insurance required, no questions about pre-existing conditions. No one gets turned away because they can't pay. Applause rippled through the crowd. We also offer free CPR training, legal aid for people facing medical debt, and job placement services. Because healthcare isn't just about treating sick people, it's about keeping healthy people from getting destroyed by a system that doesn't care about them. More applause, louder now. This center exists because Marcus Williams refused to be silent, because he showed us that one person standing up for what's right can change everything, and because my father, she looked at Morrison, finally learned that wealth without conscience is worthless. She handed the microphone to Marcus. Marcus looked out at the faces, saw Mrs. Patterson from next door, who'd brought him food when he couldn't afford groceries. Saw Officer Chen, who'd believed him from the start. Saw Jennifer Hayes, who'd fought for him without expecting payment. Saw Michael, his son, who'd woken up 6 days after Morrison approved his treatment, who'd spent 9 months in physical therapy learning to walk again, talk again, be himself again. I don't really know what to say, Marcus began, his voice carried across the parking lot. A year ago, I was sleeping in my car because the bank took my house. I was working 18-hour days trying to save my son. I thought I was doing everything right, working hard, paying my bills, being a good person, but the system didn't care about that. He paused, gathering his thoughts. When Sophia Morrison stopped breathing in my car, I had a choice. Do CPR and risk everything, or don't, and live with letting someone die. It shouldn't be that kind of choice. Doing the right thing shouldn't cost you your life. But in America, for people like me, it does. Heads nodded throughout the crowd. William Morrison punched me, had me arrested, his company sued me, and I get why people are angry about that. I was angry too, still am sometimes. Marcus looked at Morrison, but anger doesn't build this. He gestured at the center. Anger just burns. We needed something more. Morrison met his eyes, nodded slightly. This building represents something bigger than me or Mr. Morrison or anyone else. It represents the idea that healthcare is a human right, not a privilege for people who can afford it, that when someone needs help, we help them. Period. No calculations about profit or liability. Just help. Marcus's voice grew stronger. My wife Sarah died because we couldn't afford her treatment. I almost lost my son for the same reason. How many families in this neighborhood are living that same nightmare right now? How many people are one accident away from losing everything? The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. This center won't save everyone, but it'll save someone. And that someone's wife won't become a widow. That someone's kid will grow up with their parent. That someone will get to live the life they're supposed to live. Marcus held up scissors and Sophia joined him at the ribbon. Together, they cut it. The doors opened and people poured inside. 3 hours later, the ceremony was over. The first patients had been seen. A 53-year-old woman with diabetes who hadn't been able to afford insulin. a teenager who'd broken his arm and was scared to tell his parents because they couldn't pay for a cast, an elderly man who'd been ignoring chest pains for 6 months. All of them treated, all of them free. Marcus walked through the facility with Morrison. It was strange walking beside the man who'd nearly destroyed him, but life was strange like that sometimes. The board approved funding for 5 more centers, Morrison said. Philadelphia, Detroit, Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Houston. We'll have them operational within 2 years. That's good, Marcus said. It's not enough. Morrison stopped at a window overlooking the waiting room. It was still full of people, even at 7 p.m. There are thousands of neighborhoods like this, millions of people falling through the cracks. So we build more centers. It's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, Marcus. The whole system needs to change. Then change it, Marcus said. You've got the money, the influence. Use it. Morrison smiled, tired but genuine. I'm trying. Lobbying for Medicare for all, funding progressive candidates, fighting insurance industry practices from the inside. He shook his head. My former friends think I've lost my mind. Board members keep trying to vote me out, but Sophia controls enough shares to keep me in place, so... He shrugged. Why do you keep fighting? You could retire, disappear, enjoy your money. Because I wake up every day and remember punching you in the face, Morrison said bluntly. Remember having you arrested for saving my daughter, and I think, is this who I want to be? And the answer is no. So I keep fighting. They walked in silence for a bit. You ever forgive me? Morrison asked. Marcus thought about it. I'm working on it. Some days are easier than others. That's fair. They reached the exit. Outside, Michael was waiting in Marcus's new car. Not new, actually, 10 years old, but new to Marcus. The bank had given back his house after Morrison paid off the mortgage. Marcus had sold it immediately, moved somewhere smaller, used the profit to start a scholarship fund for kids like Michael. Thank you, Morrison said, for giving me a chance to do better. Thank you for actually doing better, Marcus replied. They shook hands and Marcus left. In the car, Michael was scrolling through his phone. He'd made a full recovery, was taking online classes, planning to become a physical therapist to help people like himself. Ready to go, Dad? Yeah. Marcus started the engine, then paused. You know what today is? The center opening. It's also 1 year since I picked up Sophia Morrison. 1 year since everything fell apart. Michael put his hand on his father's shoulder. Everything fell apart, so something better could get built. Marcus smiled. His son was wise beyond his years. Near-death experiences did that to people. They drove home through South Chicago, past streets Marcus had driven as an Uber driver, past the hospital where Michael had been in a coma, past the gas station where Marcus used to count coins for fuel. The city looked different now, or maybe Marcus looked at it differently. At home, Marcus made dinner, nothing fancy, pasta and salad, and they ate together, talking about Michael's classes and the center's first day and everything normal. Later, Marcus sat on his small porch with coffee, watching the sunset. He pulled out his phone, scrolled to a video he'd saved, the CPR video, the one that had gone viral, millions of views. He watched himself kneeling over Sophia, hands pumping her chest, refusing to give up, watched the crowd watching him, watched the fear and determination on his own face, watched the moment Sophia gasped back to life. Marcus closed the video and opened his text messages. One new message from Sophia. Thank you for today. Mom would have loved the center. You're changing the world, Marcus, one person at a time. Marcus typed back, your mom would be proud of you too. Tell your dad I said hello. He hit send and set his phone down. 1 year ago, Marcus Williams was a man drowning in debt and despair, working himself to death trying to save his son. Now he was the director of a community health center, an advocate for healthcare reform, a man who'd looked evil in the face and refused to blink. He didn't have much money. His car was old, his house was small, his clothes were thrift store specials. But his son was alive, his conscience was clear, and his work was making a difference. In the end, that was worth more than any paycheck. Marcus finished his coffee as the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow, the center would open at 8 a.m. More patients, more people who needed help, and Marcus Williams would be there, doing what he'd always done, the right thing, no matter the cost. 2 years after the center opened, the Marcus Williams story became a documentary that won awards and inspired policy changes. CPR training became mandatory in Chicago schools. Illinois passed Good Samaritan protections specifically for emergency medical assistance. Michael Williams graduated with his physical therapy degree and worked at the center full-time. William Morrison stepped down as CEO of Morrison Group, devoted his time to healthcare reform, and reconciled with Sophia. Sophia Morrison started a nonprofit funding community health centers nationwide. Within 5 years, there were 47 Marcus Williams Centers across America, and Marcus kept doing what he did, helping people, because that's what good people do. They help.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.